Understand? And guys, and first you should understand what is the use of going for a Bootstrap and how Bootstrap is being used in application development. So even if you are building a web pages, or if you are building a mobile pages, how are you going to create a layout? That is what you must have to understand. Okay. Next, first, before stepping into a concept, guys, please try to understand. Let me share the page. Whatever we created earlier, I would like to explain. We started creating one project by learning all the concepts. Let me open that project, ExcelR. So if you can see here one sample project that we have created, and in that let me open a home page. We have saved this as index.html. I would like to open that home page. Now this is how my home page looks like. Okay, so if this page, if you would like to create this kind of pages, okay, however, if you go and check, you guys have to write HTML from the scratch. Here you can see we started from doc type HTML. We also started from HTML, head and body. Every bit and pieces of a code with respect to that page, we are executing from the scratch. Okay. In case, if you are using Bootstrap, Bootstrap is a mobile-friendly framework, responsive web design framework, I think so. This responsive web design framework, it is helping developer to build application page or a mobile application page or web application page by using the existing components which are there in Bootstrap. Since it is a responsive framework, it has a bunch of predefined components. Each component is responsible for building a portion of a web page. However, without a Bootstrap, if you want to create a web page, we should go for almost every line of code we have to write from the scratch. So if you are writing from the scratch, it consumes a lot of time, and it also required too much of knowledge in basics. It also required a lot of logical and creative thinking from a developer perspective. But if you are using Bootstrap, what happens? Bootstrap is allowing a developer to build an application as quickly as possible. Okay. Now, guys, let me give you. Let me share my screen, and I'm planning to explain about Bootstrap here. Just give me 1 minute. Let me try. Just give me 1 minute, guys. What I'm going to do, I'm going to explain you about what all the different kinds of techniques are there in order to create layouts.
Sir, it's a notepad page now, sir, because it's showing complete blank over here.
No, I'm going to draw a page.
Yeah, okay.
Guys, listen carefully here. First, let me talk about what is Bootstrap. Hope you can see my drawings. Hemant, can you see my drawing?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So, Bootstrap, guys, listen carefully. If you wanted to create a web page, now think about this is a web page. Now, if you can see header, footer, maybe in case left sidebar, right sidebar. This is known as a page. So this what I'm trying to explain. if you wanted to create this kind of page when you are developing a web or mobile application, that is where HTML, CSS comes into your picture. If you guys are not using any of the framework, if you wanted to build this kind of web pages from the scratch, you have to write too much of code. But if you guys are using any of these frameworks like Bootstrap, guys, Bootstrap, the major advantage of going for Bootstrap is this is responsive web design framework. The two mobile first framework, I can say. So it has a lot of components, predefined components. For time being, understand theoretically. I'm going to use practical sessions very soon. Predefined components. Each component is a building block of a web page. The component is nothing but it is a building block of a web page. By using a different kind of components, what we can do, these components will help a developer to build a web pages. Okay, now Bootstrap also has a lot of libraries, inbuilt library support. It also has inbuilt library support. I mean to say, while building an applications, you may have to do a different kind of functionalities, different kind of JavaScript kind of functionalities that we have to integrate back to our web page. So if you are planning to integrate those functionalities, if you are not using Bootstrap, you may have to write all the code from the scratch. To avoid this writing a code, if you are using Bootstrap, Bootstrap already has some inbuilt library support. By using them, you can reuse the components and you can reuse the methods which are there in a Bootstrap, my dear friends. Now let me ask, someone is asking a question. Background noise is more. Is that disturbance? What sort of noise that is coming? Hemant? Okay. So near to my house, people are playing. I would request, guys, just give me 1 minute. I'll request kids to not shout more. Give me 1 minute, my dear friends. Sorry for the inconvenience. Hey, Aradhana, class chapter. Nidana garan. Hey, hey. Class chapter. Aradhana. Huh? One complaint chestunare one anukunna. Okay, guys. Somehow I controlled kids. Let us see. Hope this disturbance is not there now, Hemant. Okay, thank you. Okay, let's come back to the concept. Guys, so here, the same page if you wanted to build, software companies are always relying on a third party or ready-made frameworks. What is the advantage of going for ready-made framework is, instead of writing a code from the scratch, ready-made frameworks will have a lot of features. Those guys are predefined and we can plug and play. We can plug and play. So inbuilt libraries a bit, and also cross-browser compatibility. Cross-browser compatible. What do you mean by this cross-browser compatible? Guys, now we never know whether users are going to access our website or mobile site using either Chrome. See, if you see popular browsers, so Chrome is a popular browser which is developed by Google. Is everybody are aware of it? Next, IE, Internet Explorer, and Microsoft's Edge browser. Next, Firefox, Next, Safari, Opera. So maybe since you guys are students, you might have already seen their kind of a different kind of what we can say. Maybe you might have seen UC browser. All these browsers are not a official browsers for accessing web or mobile applications. Out of all these Asian countries, most of the people are going to use Chrome. But when we are building this page, you see that if you guys are building this kind of pages, we also never know whether users are going to access that web page using Chrome or Edge or Firefox. The moment when you are choosing any of the framework, whatever the framework that you choose, make sure that that framework should be in a position to work well in all the browsers. Whatever the code that you guys are writing, that code, if you execute, it should give same appeal, no matter whatever the browser that the users are using. Guys, at least nowadays, most of the frameworks and libraries what we are going to use, all of them are compatible for browsers. But when we started our career, most of the frameworks and libraries are not compatible for IE. What we used to do, we used to use a framework for other than IE, and for IE specific, we used to write a different code. I mean to say, for one application, we were planning to use a different sort of source code that we used to write. So that is also a headache for a developer or a development company. To avoid all this kind of problems, now every framework, guys, every framework is giving a browser compatibility. Even Bootstrap is also a compatible for a browser. Because this concept, the whole process is called, this concept is called a layout, my dear friends. So if you wanted to create a layout in HTML, as we discussed, first we have to use different kind of elements, either tags or elements. We have to use it. Then once that elements are built, then we have to keep adding CSS back to them. What sort of CSS, and to style that we have to use the CSS. In CSS also using float, that is what we discussed in the last sessions, either flex or grid. These are the different types and variations that we can use to build a web page layout. But now you need not to write much CSS, you don't need to use much HTML. Then Bootstrap is a built-in component. Each component is a what we can say, it's a group of HTML and CSS all together is inbuilt, which is a building block of an application. You can plug and you can play. So for building, for example, if you wanted to build a navigation system, so we also have a different component called nav component. To build a slider, we have a slider component. To build a what we can say, the main content and pop-ups, or if you wanted to create a tabs, for each and every feature which is there in a web and mobile applications, Bootstrap has bunch of components. By using all the bunch of components, what people can do, they can plug and they can play. So in that way, if you are using a core concepts of HTML and CSS to build a web page, if it takes one day to create one page, by using Bootstrap, you can able to create within 1 hour. The same page can be created within an hour. Since it is a third-party framework, guys, when you are using the framework for responsive web design, so if you see 10 years before, 10 years before, the users generally to access internet, users are maximum they are using desktop. Most of the users are using desktops, and few users are using laptops. And if you ask me, out of 100%, if you divide, say 100% users, out of 100%, so 80% of the users used to access desktop, and laptop is since costly, 20% of the audience are using laptops. But now, if you see now, out of 100%, 80% of the people are using mobiles and other gadgets which are related to a smaller screens, and 20% only people still, they are using desktop, plus laptops or other bigger screens. Now you guys tell me, do we need to target when you are creating web pages? Do we need to target mobile approach first or desktop approach first? For this question, the answer is mobile approach first. The reason is the majority of the people are accessing a web or mobile using mobile gadgets. That's why the Bootstrap is targeting. This is, I can say, this is a mobile first front end framework. That is why we used to call earlier when we are planning to build a web page or a mobile page, sir, especially when you're talking about web page. So we were targeting for a desktop users. Why? Because those days desktop users are more and mobile users, other gadgets users are less. That is why we used to target more desktop. Now the trend is completely changed. That's why, my dear friends, as long as the type of users are accessing a web or mobile, based upon that you have to target your web page creation. That is where Bootstrap is coming, and Bootstrap plays very, very important role, my dear friends, and it is easy to understand. It is easy, dead easy to understand. And also the main important point is it is open source, guys. It is open source. What do you mean by open source? Open source languages, open source libraries can be used for personal use as well as professional use. In case if you are using a framework or a library or a language, if it is not open source, we have to pay amount for licensing. If you're not paying amount for licensing, if you're using that software for building enterprise applications, and there is a chance that company can even file against a consumer. Again, we have to face a lot of difficulties, but when it comes to Bootstrap, it is released under GPL license, which means whoever is using Bootstrap, they can use it for personal use. They can also use it for commercial use also. You need not to pay any single rupee. That is how they released into the market. So to keep all these features, now Bootstrap becomes more popular. Nowadays, my dear friends, I think since you people are learning and you people are from college background, I don't think you might have heard about Bootstrap in your academics. Bootstrap plays very, very, very important role when it comes to web page creation or mobile page creation, and it reduces a lot of efforts and it improves the efficiency, and it also helps developer to organize their code in a neat and clean fashion. That's why the Bootstrap, as I already said, guys, listen carefully. And in order to create a web page, I think core concept, core technologies we discussed so far. HTML is for designing a web page, plus CSS is for styling a web page. Then both HTML and CSS all together is there in Bootstrap. Bootstrap is not only a combination of HTML, CSS, and CSS. Bootstrap also has HTML, CSS, plus some sort of JavaScript, and plus jQuery. This all three, four combination is together Bootstrap. That's why. So now, since JavaScript and jQuery part that we discuss later, since you people are already familiar with HTML and CSS, now guys, I'm going to explain about what sort of layouts that we can create by using Bootstrap. That is what let me explain. In case if people wanted to take a snapshot, please try to take a snapshot of my whiteboard, and this will give you a lot of information, my dear friends. Now, first what I'm going to do, I would like to explain more about what all the different sort of components are there. And let me say, since it is a completely a predefined framework, guys, you guys have to go to your documentation of Bootstrap and you have to copy paste their components. Why? Because instead of rewriting, you need not to buy hard. So Bootstrap is a ready-made framework. That framework has built-in components. All you need to do is you guys have to copy their code from their official website or any other place, and you have to start building it. Now, let me see what I will try to explain. One simple example that I am going to explain. So, for example, if you want to create image slides, the page whatever we built here, only one particular layout is here. One, for example, if you see in a slider, I have used only one image. In case if you wanted to keep moving multiple images as a part of my heading, so let me see, let me modify it, guys. I'm creating one more page. I'm copying the whole code. So those who are following me from the day one, it will be easier for you to follow. That's why don't ever try to miss the class. Then if you miss the class, it will be difficult for all of you people to follow. So let me share my screen again, complete screen. Okay, now I'm going to create a separate page. Let me create different sort of services. I am going to create, and let me save this file as services.services. Whatever the services that this company is providing, I would like to create a separate page to explain, to present different services. Now here, listen carefully. We have written this much of code, and even though we have used lot of CSS, all the CSS also we have written from the scratch. Even the lines of code, if you can see, almost I have used 77 lines of a code to build these pages. But if you are using Bootstrap, guys, let me do one thing. What I'll do, I am going to complete this service.html. Let me delete it. All the code I'm going to delete. I'm going to build from the scratch, my dear friends. How are we going to build from the scratch? By using Bootstrap ready-made concept. How are we going to build it? Now, as usual, so let me build one sample HTML. This is a structure. Those who are completely new, this is a sample page structure. Whoever wanted to build HTML web page, this is a quite common architecture or quite common structure of a web page, because so doc type, the line number 1 describes which version of HTML that we are using. Line number 2 describes HTML is a parent and it is divided into two children's, head and body. Inside a head, we are going to use page information. Inside a body, page design. Simple. Now here, since it is all the services related information, I'm just giving services. So since it is a part of what we can say ExcelR, since it is ExcelR page, services -ExcelR. Simple. Now guys, listen carefully. If you want to make use of Bootstrap, the first and foremost thing is you have to download, since it is a third-party responsive web framework. Since it is a third-party responsive framework, so you have to load here. We have to load Bootstrap framework files. So we have to load files. Guys, if you are not loading these files, you may not able to enjoy the benefits of Bootstrap. So better to load all the files. Once you load the files, then you can enjoy whatever the features which are there. Now, how are we going to load? So in order to load libs, you can see here there are two ways. In a libs now empty. What we can do, we can go to an official website, bootstrap.org. Bootstrap official website that I can go for official. You go and check here. This is getbootstrap.com. So Bootstrap also has different kind of versions, my dear friends. The most popular, see, let me go for Bootstrap 4 is the latest version. I'm going to click on this getbootstrap.com is the official website here. Download. Let me download the latest version. Now currently the beta version Bootstrap 5 is a beta release. And one more thing, those who are not aware of what is beta release, beta releases, those guys are under trial and error. So we should not use beta and alpha versions in order to build our web page. If you're using beta and alpha, what happens, and there could be many changes. Those guys are not production ready. If any library or a framework, if it is not production ready, if they are under testing phase, please do not ever try to use them for our application creation. If you use a testing, because you see here Bootstrap 5.0 beta 3, and this is beta. Bootstrap 5 has more benefits than Bootstrap 4, but still this is under beta. This is testing phase. I should not use this. I should go for the production ready version. Guys, the production ready version is Bootstrap 4, guys. So now, how are we going to use Bootstrap 4? Now, I don't want to talk about Bootstrap 5 here. Why? Because Bootstrap 5, it may take a couple of days in order to make this one as production ready. Once it is ready, we will be able to use Bootstrap 5. Till then, we'll try to use the prior to Bootstrap 5, Bootstrap 4 is the latest version. That is stable, that is production ready. Guys, these guys are explained how are we going to create. Now what I am going to do, here there is an option in the official website. Go back to 4.6.x. 4.6.x. So in this, there are two options. Copy paste the styles head before other styles to load our CSS. Okay, this is one way. Copy this and come back. So you first, we are loading that CSS, Bootstrap CSS we are loading. This is also one of the way. Now here link is a tag. That is what we discussed in the previous session. Link tag is allowing developer to link external CSS back to your web page. Even Bootstrap CSS file, you can see here, Bootstrap CSS. Even the path, if you can see, guys, hrefs, this is going to define the path of your Bootstrap file. Here, if you observe, the file, we are not loading it from our Bootstrap, our project. We are loading, our project name is ExcelR, but we are loading a Bootstrap min.css file from so we are loading it from different place, my dear friends. Bootstrap min.css, we are not loading directly from our project. So this is known as through CDN server. So loading a library through Bootstrap CDN. Here I'm just giving a comment for all of you to understand. Loading Bootstrap CSS file through CDN, Content Delivery Network. CDN through Bootstrap CDN. Guys, CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. Generally, when you are working on real-time applications, to avoid the, what we can say, the pressure, or to avoid the load on our application server, some compiled resources that we are going to load it from CDN networks. See, it's simple example. Instead of we working more, if you hire someone, then somehow you can take relaxation. That's why the pressure we have to reduce. And if too much of pressure is there on us, then definitely we are going to lose a quality and we will face a lot of problems. To avoid this kind of problems, however, we are hiring a third-party person, and that person is going to do a task on behalf of us. Similarly, when we are working on a project, instead of loading a libraries from our website or our web server, if you are loading a different kind of services or resources from a third-party servers, then we are reducing the burden to our application server to load the resources. These content delivery networks are a supercomputers. Those guys are normal laptops, whatever we are using. Those guys are highly configured computers wherein they have capabilities to serve the data as faster as possible. So that is why, so we should always use the latest techniques in order to increase the speed of our web page. And one more thing, from the day one I used to explain, if you people are not increasing, if you're not using the different techniques to improve the web page performance, even if the web application is not performing as expected, if mobile application is not performed as expected, end users are losing interest. If you are building an application, if the design wise, it is more beautiful, when it comes to the performance wise, if it is not looks more beautiful, what happens? Definitely we are going to lose customers. If the customers are unhappy with our web page or mobile page, ultimately they are not going to give a business. If they are not giving a business, we have to shut down our operations. That's why UI development plays very important role when it comes to business online. That is the reason most of the software companies, no matter whether it is a startup company or bigger MNCs, whether it is built with Java or .NET or Python, whatever middleware it is, Every middleware also need a presentation layer to display the data. That's why Angular, React, Vue.js, all these front-end frameworks are highly in demand, and the people who are learning this skill set, they are 100% getting a job. Either they can get a job and they can earn as a freelancer more, they can also work in a companies as a full-time employee. There are thousands of benefits of them. That's why you guys should not even, use core technologies to build a web page. Even if you're good at HTML, CSS, and JavaScript alone, if you don't know the advanced concept, still it is tough for you to survive in IT. In IT, if you guys wanted to survive, you should have theoretically less and practical more, and you should also know shortcuts, how quickly you will be able to work, how effectively that you can optimize your code, and so how easily that you are organizing, and what sort of easy techniques that you are using to build your application code as quickly as possible. It's all design patterns and different sort of techniques that a developer has to understand. So now here we are also using a third-party framework, that is Bootstrap, for building a web page. Now see, it may take 2 days, today, tomorrow, since it is a Yugadi festival and we are not connecting tomorrow, we will be connecting on Wednesday. So in order to complete Bootstrap, I may need 2 more sessions, and once I'll complete all the features of Bootstrap, I'm going to give you an assignment, my dear friends. Today also I'm going to give you some sort of assignment in the session itself. Kindly make all the assignments and complete it and put it in a drive, and we are going to validate your assignments, and we'll also give a report. Okay, next. So I loaded Bootstrap. As I already said, Bootstrap is a combination of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. Here, I loaded only a Bootstrap min.css file. This Bootstrap min.css file is consist of all the CSS related, so the design related components which are available in Bootstrap min.css. Similarly, if you wanted to add JavaScript, because many of our components requires to use of JavaScript function. You see here in Bootstrap, many of the features or whatever the components which are there, those guys are required JavaScript functions to execute. And also this 4.x, 4.5, so this is also expecting jQuery and popper.js. Okay, that's why guys, listen carefully. This jQuery and popper.js we should also load. So how are we going to load? You see here, copy this, and they are also giving one more slim version of jQuery. That is, if you try to see, and our own JavaScript plugins. We use jQuery slim build, but the full version is also supported. Please, so you see here, jQuery bundle.js is there. jQuery Bootstrap bundle.js, Bootstrap bundle.min.js. Guys, this min, see, when we are copying, you should also observe what is this min. So if you open this particular file in a separate browser, minified files, you can see. This is also one of the techniques that jQuery team has used in order to improve the performance of your jQuery. So when you are going for this, now you see here, this is anywhere. Is it possible for you to check, is there any white spaces? And also, is it easy for you people to understand what this code is all about? No, it is not. Why? Because the size, even if you save and see the size of this particular one, Control A, if you save and see, it is more or less 84 KB or lesser than 100 KB, guys. If you are going for unminified version size is 3 times more than minified versions. Since it is a third-party library, all we need to do is, we don't want to use unminified versions. Guys, minified and unminified is very simple. Now, whatever the code which I am writing here, this is known as unminified version, because I am using a proper indentation concept here. When we are using a proper indentation, that will help developer to read a code line by line easily. Whereas coming to the minified versions, and here it is not that much easy for a developer to read by line, and it is not required for a developer to read a code one by one. Why? Because this is a library which is built by third party. Why do we need to understand? And if you are able to understand the concept, it is fine. You don't need to understand the library. I hope you understand. Since you guys are watching, many people are watching IPL, and how this Star Sports or ESPN or different channels are broadcasting this IPL, that is none of our business. Whether IPL is coming in Star Sports, that is what we have to verify. The same way, how Bootstrap is built behind the scenes, that is none of our business. How to use Bootstrap features to build our own web page, that is our business. Hope you understand. And one more thing, being a student, you should also limit yourself, my dear friends. Limit yourself to learn, but do not overlearn. Do actions, but don't do over actions. And be active and be proactive. Don't be overactive. So overactive and over creates a problem. Even if you're too good, also a problem. Even if you're too bad, also a problem. Same, even it applies when you are learning. If you are deep diving into your language and if you are understanding unwanted concepts, and the language is not going to help you anyhow. So when you are planning to learn, even if you are going back to your library, and if you open whatever the book that your subject related books, if you open the book size, minimum more or less 1,000 plus pages are there. But do you think that all 1,000 plus pages are really needed for us? No, it is, of course it is not required. So we are going to learn only important concepts. Similarly, in this particular course, we are explaining the important components which are really needed for us to work on web page creation. The same Bootstrap can also be used in mobile applications as well to build a presentation part of the web page. Okay, so next, see, more or less I'm talking about only fundamentals of Bootstrap, my dear friends. Bootstrap is a combination of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and jQuery. Just give me 1 minute. Guys, sorry for the disturbance. Okay, fine. So what I'm going to explain here, so since I loaded only a Bootstrap CSS related file, I loaded, but I haven't loaded JavaScript related and jQuery related files. Okay, what my plan is, let me keep explaining. How are we going to load JavaScript, Bootstrap related jQuery files and JavaScript related? Just give me 1 minute, guys. So, and one more thing here, guys, you don't need to learn JavaScript completely to understand Bootstrap. Okay, so anyhow, now today, why? Because since we completed the web page creation using HTML and CSS, that's why I picked up Bootstrap. And once the Bootstrap is done, we will try to use Bootstrap concepts to build a web page. Then in order to add functionality back to your page which you have created, you also need JavaScript and jQuery knowledge. Once you are familiar with JavaScript and jQuery knowledge, we are going to explain about few more concepts. Now, why I started using Bootstrap nowadays now, the reason is I wanted to build a web page by using Bootstrap without writing too much of code. HTML and CSS, I don't want to write too much. Then how are we going to achieve without writing too much? That is what I plan to explain about it. So Next, let me see one thing. Let me go back to official web page. And as I already said, always when you people are depending on a third-party library, make sure that you have to load the minified version of that library instead of going for unminified version. Why I'm not suggesting you people go to unminified versions? Because unminified versions always gives a problems because of size. That's why minified versions. Anyhow, you can also ask a question, sir, since minified versions, since minified versions are not in a position, not in a position to understand what is the logic that they have written, you can ask such kind of questions. But why do we understand the code which is written in Bootstrap library or a framework? Since it is not required, it is not our job. That's why when you are depending on any external plugins or external libraries or external frameworks, better to go for minified versions. Those minified versions will improve definitely performance. Now JavaScript bundle, guys listen carefully. If you are planning to download separately Bootstrap 4.6, this is Bootstrap 4.6 CSS also they have loaded here, and parallelly if you come back, Bootstrap 3.5.x slim.min.css are option jQuery and Bootstrap bundle. You see here jQuery for also is being utilized in Bootstrap. That's why first, since Bootstrap is depending on jQuery, we must have to load jQuery first, and we should also load Bootstrap bundle.min.js. And we do have two separate options, optional JavaScript. Choose one of the two. You see here they have already given a documentation. Either jQuery and Bootstrap bundle includes popper.js. In this Bootstrap bundle, which includes popper.js, or separate popper and Bootstrap.js. Separately, if you wanted to use popper.js, you can also do that. Now, guys, either you can go for option 1 or you can go for option 2. Now, since you are at a beginning stage, I just wanted to load individually all the files. Kindly copy this, go back to your page, and however you see here, the people are loaded that particular JS files before closing off your body. So this is the recommended one by my dear friends. Now what I'm going to explain here, kindly copy this 3 files code, copy and go back to your file and paste it before closing off your body. Very simple. I closed it. Now this is how we are loading Bootstrap related files into our web page. Now all the prerequisites which are really needed for our web page creation, I have loaded it. Now it is a time for me to make use of all the features which are there in Bootstrap. In case if you people are not loading Bootstrap min.css and jQuery 3.5 slim.js or Bootstrap, if you are not loading, and you can't even use the benefits of all these 3 libraries. Now one more important point is, those who are working on this front-end application part, presentation part of application, so it's always better to learn the techniques and better to depend on a third-party plugins or libraries. So what these guys are going to do, this will definitely help a developer to build a presentation part more efficiently and more clean and neat fashion. I hope you all understand. So next, what I will try to explain, guys, listen is the layout. Now, however, two column layout, just for you people to understand. Just what I'm trying to explain. Let's come back. Give me 1 minute. Okay, fine. So guys, there is sometimes, okay, there is a disturbance in the network. Since I'm using Geo, I think, Geo, it's not only a problem from my side, but also there is a problem because many of my clients are also facing this kind of issues. And kindly adjust. Sometimes there is a disturbance in the layout, and sometimes I could even see that the networks are keep that strength of a network signals are keep increasing. Sometimes I'm getting enough network, sometimes I'm getting very less network. So since that particular cases, maybe my voice might not be clear. Okay, cool. So now first let me draw a sample layout. So guys, layout, first we'll try to create a 2-column layout or 3-column layout. I'm going to explain for all of you. So how are we going to create a layout using Bootstrap now? So Bootstrap, when you are talking about a layout concept, so let me share the screen. So I'm going to clear this. Let me clear all the drawings and Bootstrap layouts. So it is one of the interesting feature in Bootstrap. So let me talk about what is layouts is all about. Now, first of all, those who are completely new, let me explain for them what do you mean by layout. This has been covered already in CSS and HTML, but again, I'm going to explain one more time. So layout is nothing but if you have an empty page, this empty page, how are you going to divide empty page into multiple partitions? That is called layout is all about. Now this empty page, and even you can see that this is a width of a web page, and this particular portion we can call it as height of a web page. So always the page element should not go beyond this width. So the width should be calculated in terms of percentage and pixels according to our requirement. Let me see 100%. Whatever the available width which is there in a gadget, that is 100%. Now, whereas coming to the height, guys, listen carefully. So height you cannot even restrict. Why? Because as long as if the elements are increasing, the height is also going to increase. And if you restrict your web page height, and you can't even put more elements. That's why in any web page or any mobile page, if you see, you can find out a vertical scroll bar, but you can't even see any horizontal. The reason is horizontal scroll bar, if you are implementing in a web page, the user has to read the data from left to right direction in a web page. But if you are putting horizontal scroll bar, it is not accessible or it is not easy to understand that, because the end user is already habitual to read the code from top to bottom. That's why restrict your horizontal with only 100% height can be automated according to the number of elements who are loading there. Next, so this web page, for example, this is my header. First, let me talk about only header today. So in this header, first portion we are going to load a logo. This is called logo, any logo of yours. Logo represents what they are, who they are, and it is a branding. This defines what is there. Even if you go for Puma or Safari or maybe Byju's, since you people are watching IPL, and IPL, the bad companies, SS and MRF, Britannia, there are different kind of bad companies are there. And their logo, by looking their logo, you will be able to understand who they are. That's why the logo part we have to put it in header to promote their business. And so here all the navigation links. We have to place navigation links. This navigation links is a place very important role. In case if your web page has multiple services or multiple pages, then each page we can't put all the all our business information in within a page. We have to divide our web page into multiple partitions. To do so, however, if our web page has 5 pages, we have to give that 5 pages links to the end user in a header part itself. So first let me build here. If you try to see this itself, I can say this is one partition, 2 column layout. And how are we going to create a layout? What sort of layout that Bootstrap is working, in Bootstrap? Layouts, if you ask me, there are two types of layouts. One is fixed layout, fixed one. Another one is flexible. Fixed and flexible. So fixed layout is only for a specific device. This is only for specific device. If you are targeting your application only for a desktop users or only for tablet users, then I can go for fixed. But most of the cases we won't even use this. We will be using flexible. Why? Because one code base that should work in desktop, that should also work well in laptop, that should also work well in smaller screens like mobile gadgets as well. So that is where the flexible layout is the one which we are going to use frequently inside our real-time applications. Then both of them, Bootstrap is giving an option for both of fixed as well as flexible. Now let me see here how are we going to create a 2-column layout. Guys, if you wanted to create a first you have to plan your parents, either if you are using section. Now I'm just writing a code. Section is my parent. This parent, here I'm going to divide the parent into 2 different sections. One is division, another one also one more division or navigation. Here you have to place navigation links or nav links. Here you have to place a logo. This is what you have to keep planning it, and every code you have to write from the scratch in case. And for this, again, once the HTML is ready, you should also use CSS, your own CSS, to style that web page. But if you are using Bootstrap, you don't need to use much CSS. You also need not to worry about how are we going to write HTML from the scratch. All is Bootstrap as ready-made code. Since Bootstrap has ready-made code, try to copy. If you're good at copy and paste, that's all. That's why, guys, all IT jobs, most of the development related IT jobs are copy paste jobs. Maybe if you ask a genuine and good developer who is working in IT, he will say that only 20% we are going to write a logic, remaining 80% of the code that we can copy paste from Google. Guys, listen carefully. Writing 20%, we need a engineering knowledge, and 80% knowledge we are going to copying from the internet. Then copy paste techniques is also very important for all of you guys. Make sense? So even as I'm telling you, 99.9% is not equal to 100%. Now Bootstrap, 80% of the web page design can be taken care by Bootstrap, but still the 20% of the code that we have to customize. So to customize this 20% of your code, customize this code, 80%, for example, 80% you can copy paste and you can build 80% of your web page. But 20% Bootstrap won't even allow. In such cases, a developer should have core knowledge. To customize this, that is where developer need a core knowledge like HTML, CSS and JavaScript, jQuery. If he has core knowledge, then only it will be easier for him to build. If you don't have a core knowledge, then 80% is make web page ready. Since 20% if he is not able to make his web page ready, then it is not 100%. The client is not going to accept it. Then how are we going to create these 2 columns and this navigation system, especially this header portion of a Bootstrap? Let me see here how are we going to create a header portion. Guys, listen carefully. For that, I am going to copy. Let me go. It's almost copy paste job, guys. I'm going to the documentation. In the documentation, if you go back, layout concept is already there. If you click on layout, so Bootstrap is also, as I already said, there are two kinds of layouts are there. One is fixed layout and another one is flexible layout. For everywhere, see fluid layout. Flexible layout is also called as fluid layout. Everywhere Bootstrap is a combination of fixed and fluid also people are using. And every line of CSS code, CSS property, whatever we learned in CSS, in Bootstrap there is a specific predefined class. It's all about predefined classes, my dear friends. Now container, let me see one small, and also Bootstrap also has a grid system. I'll try to explain that grid system later. First, let me build on web page. Here I'm just writing one section, simple section, and this section I can even decide class whether this page is gonna be a fixed layout or fluid layout. I'll try to see. First I'll try to make this one as fixed layout. Container section class is equal to container. Now the container is a predefined class which comes from Bootstrap. Make sure that Bootstrap is a group of predefined classes. For each one of the feature we have some certain classes, and when you are planning to implement those features into our web page, make sure that you should remember those classes. Don't by heart the classes. It is easy. Container. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to create one more section. Let me create one row, and this row I need to place, let me create multiple sections. Section 1, 2 sections I'll try to create, and in one section I'm going to place a logo here. Logo, that is image. Instead of writing a code, I can even copy paste, but I'm just still explaining. And one more, navigation. So instead of writing a code, all this code from the scratch, guys, listen carefully. What I'm going to do, I'll try to delete it. Let me go for Bootstrap official website. And if you can you all see my screen, or you people are only seeing my white pad?
Yeah, it's white pad, it's showing, sir.
Okay, I'm an impression that I shared complete screen. Okay, fine. Now you see, guys, listen carefully. I hope you can see my screen now. Can you see my screen? My
Yes, sir.
editor? Okay. Now, instead of writing all this code from the scratch, now my sincere advice is I'm deleting this code. I don't want to write too much of code when I'm using Bootstrap. Bootstrap is all about ready-made. So how I'm going to copy paste ready-made code from a Bootstrap official website. Guys, let me go for an example. So I'm opening this in a new tab, examples. Bootstrap also given a lot of examples. You see here, there are many pages, album and blog page, carousel page, and even dashboard. The many examples, sign-in page, grid, jumbotron, different. Now everywhere there is lots of examples are there. Now what I'm going to do, let me copy any one example. I'm going to explain about this. Check out. This is a pricing page. This is album, single one-page templates for a photo gallery or portfolio, whatever it is. Now this is image carousel. Now let me copy this, my dear friends. Okay, I'm just clicking on this image carousel. Now see, this is how this web page is going to look like. In the places of this 500 by 500, you can even use your own images. Now the template, those guys have already made it ready and they gave you. And in this template, once you download this template, what you can do, you can download this and you can change according to your project requirements. You need not to write a code from the scratch. Now here, if you keep changing some images, and the images will automatically work instead of writing from the scratch, and it can even work. I hope you understand. Now what I'm trying to explain here, so either you can copy paste like this, or you can also go back to first, a lot of components are there. You can click on components and slowly you will be able to understand. Now container, first for you to understand, The difference between fixed layout and flexible layout. First, guys, let me explain here. Now, container. I am also giving a different background. Generally, if you wanted to give a background color in CSS, we have to use a property called background-color, and you have to set a value, either predefined color or hexadecimal color. But in Bootstrap, for background related predefined classes are there. However, for layout also predefined classes. For background, everything is predefined classes in Bootstrap. Now BG hyphen primary, I'm using primary color. So if you go and check, let me open. See here, I'm not writing any my own CSS. If I'll open this page, can you all see my coding page and my, see, if you see here, background. Now here, guys, BG primary, since my section does not contain anything, that is why it is not visible. Now go and reload. You can see that the primary color, did I give anywhere the background color is primary this color? No. Bootstrap has bunch of predefined classes. And the only difference between, you see here, this is fixed. I mean to say, even the left hand sidebar of a web page, even right hand side of a web page, it has some decent space, and the page is displaying in the center of your web page. So if the layout, complete layout of your web page, if it is displaying in the center of your web page, this is called fixed layout. Next, I'm going to change only a CSS class. Now container-fluid. Since I am familiar, I'm not copying my class names. I know all this because it's been 12 years and I have been working on this complete website application development and mobile application. So I'm a technical architect. Since thousands of projects which have been built. Now you see here, I have used fluid, that is known as flexible. The moment when I change container fluid, immediately the template, the page is started rendering from extremely left side without space and right side. This is the complete page. Now everywhere, if you go back, every website, even our ExcelR website is also, now you see here, this is somehow, you can see that this is fixed. The layout is displaying in the center. Why? Because if the layout is completely loading from extremely left side to your right side, and chances of this logo is going to cover on the edges of this page. That's why to give more visibility to a logo and other content, we have used concept called fixed. But we can also use fixed and we can also use flexible. And if you go for guys, they are extremely loading from a left side. Now this is a we can say it's a flexible layout. I don't know whether they have used Bootstrap or they do have, because Google company, they can also, they might have built their own framework. The story is different. But when we are building a web page, is that possible for us to build our own web framework? No, that is not required. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. Now guys, listen carefully. Now fluid and flexible layout that you people are understood. How are we going to convert fluid into flexible? It's just a matter of changing our class. Internally, CSS, bootstrap.min.css is bunch of all the classes. You should learn what are the classes for web design purpose, which is there in Bootstrap. If you guys are familiar with CSS and HTML, it is dead easy for you people to understand what is Bootstrap. Why? Because however, in HTML and CSS, whatever the common code that you people are writing in Bootstrap, a ready-made code is there for the same common features. So if you are aware of core features, it will be easier for you to understand Bootstrap. That's why those who are feeling a little bit confused about Bootstrap, my sincere advice is go back to HTML and CSS and understand how are we going to create a layout, and come back how are we going to achieve same layout using Bootstrap. Then you will be able to compare the difference and see the changes. Okay, chalo. Next, what I'm trying to explain, I would like to create a 3-column layout. To do so, 3-column layout, I'm going to create one more section with a parent. My parent, so grid system, I'm planning to explain, my dear friends. Class, it's all about predefined classes. Class, row. Generally, what do you mean by grid? Grid is nothing but it's a group of rows and columns. Now, when it comes to this Bootstrap grid, guys, what I'm trying to explain. Now, guys, each row. Now, if you consider this is a row, a web page, each row is divided into 12 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Bootstrap is ready-made, framework, as I already said. To create layout, this is known as CSS grid, Bootstrap grid. This grid system is divided into 12 columns. Now this is a row R1, and this is R1 C1, and so on, R12, R1 C12. Now 12 columns that we have created here. Make sense? Now, in case this is a grid system, guys, Bootstrap also has a ready-made CSS for each one of the gadgets. Now, if you can see, ready-made classes are there for a grid, layout. Now, for example, the devices what Bootstrap is going to target, the devices which Bootstrap is going to target. The device number 1, see, smaller screens. The resolutions which are lesser than 572, I mean to say less than 572 pixels. 572 pixels, we can consider these guys as smaller devices. And greater than 572, greater than or equal to 572, and lesser than or equal to 768, lesser than 768 pixels. This is called medium devices, guys. Medium. And for this medium, for a smaller screens, and Bootstrap has a ready-made class called call. Just call. If the class name is just call, which means that it is going to target a smaller screens. Medium screens CSS class is call hyphen MD, medium devices hyphen this 12 columns. Among these 12 columns, whether how many columns that you wanted to merge, this is going to decide by star. This star indicates how many columns that you are planning to merge. MD indicates medium device. The medium device resolutions in Bootstrap is greater than 572 and lesser than 768. Next, greater than or and lesser than 992 pixels. So this is called large device. Call Yeah, guys, hope you can see my screen. I guess screen
Yes,
is
sir.
freezed for a moment. Now you can see, right, Himant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, since I explained about a different kind of devices and their resolutions, Bootstrap has all the set of, what I can say, Bootstrap has some different kind of predefined classes. Now, how I'm going to target? Now, guys, listen carefully. So here, I would like to write row is defined. This row is going to divide into 12 columns according to our project requirements. You guys can even decide how many columns that you are planning to merge to create your row. Now, see, our header is divided into two main partitions. In one partition, we are planning to keep a logo, and other partition we are planning to keep navigation links. For that, so what I can do, the ready-made code, which is navigation related. If you go on search in Bootstrap official website, so all the once the grid system is over, guys, listen content. Navigation is there. So what I can do, if you search for nav, there is an option in the web page. If there is any option for search, you see here navigation. Navigations, different sort of navigations that you can see here, and whichever the navigation that you guys need it, you can even keep copy paste. Story is different. Now here, let me card and links, nav and nav bar. These are the different kind of components which are available. Now go back to example, guys. You see the example. Wherever you feel that you require this kind of links, kindly copy paste it. Now vertical navigation, if you need, go back to your Bootstrap and copy paste this vertical and change the text according to your project requirement. And in case tab system, if you need, try to copy this code. Or if you want going to use pills kind of navigation, you try to use this. Or so you see here fill and justify, and different sort of examples that Bootstrap team is already given. But let me check. I wanted to give my navigation links without a pills or anything. Now let me see. I keep searching for a right one. Home, profile, contact. The tabs plugin, that is okay. I don't want this kind of one. I wanted to create a navigation. Let me copy this. I'm copying this. Paste it. So first row. Once the row is to divide your columns bus. Here in this column, I'm using class predefined class call hyphen. First, let me target for medium devices. Medium hyphen. I'm going to use two columns. I'm merging, and here I'll try to place a logo. Next, in another, out of 12 columns, 2 columns are merged for single, and remaining 10 columns again. See, I have to use Control Z. Just listen carefully. Let me copy paste. And indentation also plays very important role. Let me use proper indentation. So in this case, I must have to use class. Sorry, here for this navigation class, again I must have to use predefined class call hyphen medium devices hyphen 10. So two CSS classes that I started using it half an hour. So here call hyphen md hyphen 10. Guys, listen carefully. Call hyphen md hyphen 10. Now the sum of this 2 plus 12, sorry 10, it should not even increase more than 12. You see here my row is divided into 12 columns. Now see, this is a 2 column. My row is divided into 2 columns. In that 2 columns, as per the grid system formula in Bootstrap, each row is a combination. I can say it has 12 column layout, but in that 12 column According to your requirement, you can even merge multiple columns into a single column and you can use it. Here, division is also block level. I merged 2 columns and I have added for division, and 10 columns I merged, I have added for UL. Okay, this is how you must have to use the 12 column concept in Bootstrap to create your work. Now navigation is also there. Guys, listen carefully. Since you copy paste the code from Bootstrap, nav is a parent class. Nav item, because list items, nav items. Anchor is nav link, and active. These are all classes, whatever the classes that you see here in Bootstrap, all these guys are predefined classes. Am I making clear? Any questions here? So, okay, I don't want to ask questions now. Why? Because questions, we'll try to keep it little later. Okay. Okay, cool. Next. Now, since here, according to our page requirements, in case if you go and check other pages, we have home, about, services, clients, and blog contact. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 links are there. So in that case, what I can do, 1, 2, 3, 4, and what I am going to do is one more, 2 more that I am going to copy paste. That's all. Now here, home page, and copy paste. This is about. Don't even use your brain. If you know techniques and you need not to write too much of code, it's all copy paste job. Freshers only keep writing the code, guys. But when you are becoming experienced, definitely you can easily get to know a lot of techniques and your life will become easy. This is blog. Now reload your page. Go back and reload here. Now logo and contact. Only contact. Remaining, see, on HOver only it is displaying. These links are also there, but these guys are displaying on HOver. Now, why on HOver these guys are displaying? Let me check. And one more thing, BG primary, since I have used, that is where the primary background came into picture. Now I don't want to use it. Now you see here, this is how the logo part. What we can do. So since we have our logo which is placed in our, so let me copy our ExcelR logo and paste it within our division. That's all. Now my row is divided into 2 main columns, and in that I have used subchildrens. Now this is how my web page is displaying. Now you can see, even still, if you wanted to push these guys extremely right to the document, and all you need to do is, so there is an option for you to pull right. I think pull right is not there. Let me see 1 minute what I will try to do. MX. So I'm going to use margin x-axis MX4. Margin left I am going to use 4. Let me check. Sorry, margin 4 if I am using, it is coming outside. Margin X, MX2 I am giving. And even MX2 is also giving trouble. That's why the elements are displaying. So when I am using margin, see what happens, the margin is disturbing a page layout. Let me see. Padding I'm going to use. Padding x-axis. Okay. Now slowly what you can do, you can even still write too much of CSS, sorry, too much of Bootstrap, then padding X, only X-axis 4. And even if you are planning to give padding X in between each one of the li, then still you can use it. I'll try to explain about what is px. P for padding x-axis, horizontal, left and right, and the py stands for top and bottom, x-axis and y-axis. If you're just giving simple p-4, and there are a lot of utility classes are there, and I will try to explain them all the utility classes in the next session. For time being, guys, try to understand here. You may have to customize according to your page requirement. Okay. Next, so this, if you want to move extremely left hand side, again you have to use customized, in case if your code is not working, if Bootstrap code is not working as expected, and still there is an option for a developer to customize the code. So even still there is a predefined classes are there in order to move this particular UL into extremely left. That we'll try to do it little later. Now let me come back to the image slider as well. So to do image slider, guys, listen carefully. And in Bootstrap there is a one more component called slider component. Here see all the component, as I already said, alert is one component, badge is one component, breadcrumb, button group, everywhere. Now if you see here, there is one more, the slider component name is in Bootstrap is carousel. For carousel, they would have already explained about how this is going to work. Once you get a time, go to this documentation and keep reading it. What I'm do, see, they have already given different kind of slides. Now all you do to is you just copy the code, go back here, and in the place of maybe second row I'm creating, here I'm creating a second row. Second row I created in that. So let me create a section. In that section, again rows and columns. You guys listen carefully. So second row I am creating. For creating a row in Bootstrap, class row is a predefined row. Next, once the row is created, make sure that you have to create the columns as well. Section, class, here col hyphen, medium hyphen. So all 12 columns I am merging into single column. And here one simple formula to remember, guys. I'm just using proper indentation. Even though I copied a code from internet, I'm using proper indentation. This indentation will help developer to understand who is parent and where it is closed, who is their parents. See, now this is their row parent. Now column MD12. Then again I have used a carousel. Here there are multiple. You need not to write JavaScript code or jQuery code to load your carousels. All you need to change here is you have to set a path. Guys, listen carefully. Here in images we have only, I think our I have used one image, that too that I have loaded from seethepeople.tv. This is one of the website. Now instead of loading this, now guys listen carefully. So this web code I am loading it from one website. In case if these guys, if they are changing, this is code 1. Let me save this in my website. I'm saving this web page image into my project. And wherever that I'm sharing in desktop, I have saved it to ExcelR, I think. Documents, ExcelR. Inside ExcelR, images, and in that column code -2, I'm saving it. Same way, let me check whether column 1. I'm guessing whether column1.jpg is available or not. I'm just guessing. If it is not there, it will give you error. Or else what I can do, let me delete it. We don't have any option. So that's okay. And we have to search few more columns or quotations. I'm downloading proper banners. Generally, when you are working on a project, you need not to search by your own. So this can be easily downloaded. Your designer's duty is to give your images. That is what your designer work bus. Now, since everything that we have to learn and we must have to create from the scratch. To do that, I'm just writing. I'm researching on banners also. I'm using that. Now let me save this. I'm saving this image. Column code 02. Like that, similarly, so let me download other images. Save. Fine. So that's enough. We just need only 3. That's sufficient enough. Now in the place of in services, wherever that src is there, so give the path. Single dot represents current directory, and images is a folder slash the file names. Guys, listen carefully. Code 1, code 2, rename. Kindly copy this. This is how we are going to set a path, column code. And the alternative text also, you have to give relevant text to column code 01. Just an example I'm just giving. Similarly, copy the same path and change the file names. Column code 02.jpg. These files must be there in your project. At the same time, column 03. Okay, so I just changed my images, but remaining everything. See, for carousel, the predefined classes are already there in Bootstrap. Carousel is a main class, and slide is an animation class. And carousel item is a subclass. Carousel inner, carousel item, and this is D block W-100. Every class, you can even see that I haven't written these classes inside my web page. But all the properties with respect to these classes have been collected from Bootstrap, and those guys have already applied into these elements. Now that is the power of Bootstrap. Go back and reload your web page. You will get to know. You guys, you see here, I did nothing. I copied my carousel related code and I placed inside my web page. Now automatically the carousel is working. I did nothing much code. I modified according to my requirements. That's all. Now you see here, somehow a lot of CSS. Just give me 1 minute, guys. Hello. Okay, this is how the simple, even if you guys are not using Bootstrap, if you want to achieve this kind of layout, guys, you should always write too much of CSS, HTML, and JavaScript code also you have to write. But here, since we are depending on a third-party ready-made framework, which has see on HOver, the carousel is stopped. See why? Because it is a simple logic. If user a carousel, generally it will be keep moving if user is not performing any action on a web page. In case if you wanted to read the text on HOver, the carousel is going to stop. Who is writing all the functionalities? Are you writing? No. Did I write this kind of functionalities back to this web elements? No. I copied and I pasted the code. Most of these common concepts and common tasks which was already taken care by Bootstrap. This is how your Bootstrap works like a charm, and it is very easy to understand. So what you people have to do is go back to your official website or wherever you are planning to learn. Please try to understand the basics. I started explaining, because if you people are not aware of HTML CSS to create a layout, then understanding Bootstrap is a little confusing. Bootstrap is ready-made responsive framework which has bunch of classes and bunch of components. And in Bootstrap, the important concept that you people have to learn is grid system. As I already explained, there are two layouts. One is flexible and fixed layout. Even flexible and fixed layout, it is also a layout is nothing but rows and columns. And your row, every row is going to divide it into 12 columns. According to your requirement, you are, see here, since our row has to divide it into two columns, in one column we have placed a logo, in another column we have placed, navigation links. Even if you wanted to move this navigation links extremely right, guys, there is a many techniques that we will be able to apply. So that we'll try to still see what I can also customize. Now let me explain. You can still depend on Bootstrap, or you can also keep writing your own code. Now you see here this whole UL. I can select the whole UL, and I can also keep, or else each LI. Let me move this LI margin left. This is how a customized code that we can write. Margin left. If you guys left, let me use 200 pixels. Like that, if you think that okay, you have only this 6, if you feel that only 6 links are there, and if you're not going to change the other links, and if you want that links to be loaded like this is how you will be able to use margin left. Since you are giving margin left for first one element, you can see that light orange color, it indicates it is giving a space left hand side of a first element. Since the first element is moving almost 600 pixels left, remaining other elements are also keep moving it. Okay, so not only this solution, but also there are a number of other solutions are also there in order to move your. For time being, I'm just using margin left. This is our customization. So when we are writing a custom CSS, guys, listen carefully. Again, what I'll do, I'm going to write my margin m hyphen, just I'm giving my own class. See guys, here one important point that you must have to remember. In Bootstrap, the class names are hyphen based. Even when a developer is also creating his own class, if he is also giving hyphen based, then it will be difficult for you people to understand whether it is a Bootstrap defined class or a developer defined class. To give you a clarity to avoid the confusions, when you guys are creating your own class to customize, better to go with the camel case notation. I'm using M630. This is, something like that, or else margin 630. If I'm giving like this, so people can easily understand how this particular margin is, this class is created by a developer, or it is, created by a Bootstrap, that easily you can able to understand. Then your own CSS, you can even load either internal CSS or external CSS. Very few lines of code that you can write to complete your web page instead of writing a code from the scratch. So that's all. Margin 360 and margin left. So by reading margin left, I just gave 603. So it applies. So this class I have defined, but this class to whom I am going to apply, instead of not UL guys, sorry, this we have to apply for first element. Wherever you add a class, that property is going to impact. If you go on reload, you can see that this is where. Now see, if you are planning to create a header and image slide bar in other pages, if you go and check in other, see here, maximum I just wrote only one rule. But if you go to your index.html and in external.css, if you open that external CSS, there are 70 lines of code that we have written. In that, for header itself, you see here, guys, listen carefully, almost 23 lines of CSS that we have written to prepare a header. But when it comes to this service.html, since this page is built by Bootstrap, and I started using Bootstrap predefined classes, and very few cases I used customized. That is where Bootstrap is more powerful. This is going to resolve 80% of the design problems when designers developers are working. Only 20% customization. You try to check, writing one line to complete your task is easy, or writing 23 lines of code is easy. Even HTML also, every bit of code you have started writing. Here all the classes also that you have to select an element, and everything you have to write from the scratch. But if you are going for Bootstrap, everywhere all the classes are predefined. You should know what is the use of each one of the concept, what are the predefined classes are there. Okay, so that is the power of Bootstrap, my dear friends. Tomorrow, I'm giving a task for all of you. Now I created a header and image slide bar. Similarly, guys, you please try to create your own header and slide bar. That is enough. Okay, so however, since you people have listened my class, the task for you guys today, try to create this kind of header and this kind of slide bar using Bootstrap. And same way, you try to achieve this by using HTML and CSS, and understand whether is it possible for us to complete this slider using HTML and CSS. If possible, please implement it. If not possible, try to give answer in a position whether what is the reason behind not possible. And also, even see, since you people are comfortable with HTML and CSS, and let me give you one more task, and one sample page you try to build. You guys have to build one sample page. The homework for all of you guys, the task, homework or a task I can say. Build a page. So a header, one image. So here one full banner has to come. Is the image. Next, guys, here one image and some text. Here some text. Now again some text, one image. Okay, at last you try to add one more footer. So header and footer, put a logo here, a navigation link, one link, two links, three links, 4, 5 and 6 links. And here also put a logo and copyright information and social links. This is one page. So if you are interested still, kindly create one more page. In this page, same header, you have to repeat it, same header and same footer. In between, so guys, listen carefully. Here also use same banner. Here try to build left side bar, and in the left side bar try to give a links like whatever you are learning, HTML, CSS, Bootstrap. These three concepts only you learned so far. Give that links and click off HTML. So you guys have to create one more page. In that HTML image you have to display. Then what is HTML? What is the advantage of HTML? The same way in this home page, then CSS image, CSS advantages, bullet points. Bootstrap image, Bootstrap, like that. This is how you have to create a page. So these two pages, please try to complete it as a part of homework. And upload that code into a respective drive. Our team is going to give you the drive details, and you please try to upload there. And this is these 2 pages that you guys have to complete by using HTML plus CSS. In CSS, either you can use float or you can also use flex. That is up to you. I recommend you people to go to flex. Now complete these assignments and come back in case if you have any queries. So that's all about today's session. In case if you people have any questions, further questions, feel free to ask me. We have 10 more minutes to go. If you have any questions, feel free to put it in a chat. I'm going to address.
అమ్మ తినలేదమ్మా మోర్ వస్తుంది చేసుకోండి
Guys, once the code is completed, our team is going to put a drive link over here. Himawant, can you please put a drive link somewhere else, so that they will be able to upload their code?
Okay, sir, means in the which drive link?
Okay. Someone is asking why we have to put for the list not in nav. So you can also put it for navigation, but I don't want to disturb my whole parent. If I try to disturb one children, anyhow moving an element is important for me. Either you can even move complete parent or a child. So in this, that is why I disturbed the first child. How to define values in Bootstrap file? How do you redefine? That is what customization I explained. Guys, in case if Bootstrap file is having some set of properties and values, if you don't want those properties, still Bootstrap is allowing for us to override our own values. If you define the same class which is there in Bootstrap again in your web page, then the Bootstrap class is going to overridden with your class and your own properties. That facility is also there in Bootstrap. Can we get a notes of the session? Notes. What sort of notes that you are expecting, Chandana? Because we are giving a detailed, complete video we are sending. What sort of notes that you are expecting from us? Yeah. So someone is asking, what is the difference between framework and library? Guys, library is going to fulfill a specific need, whereas coming to that framework, it has a lot of other more features. Okay, so when it comes to a library, generally libraries, a framework is a group of libraries, guys. Each framework can contain multiple libraries. Libraries will perform a few concepts, few problems it is going to resolve. Whereas coming to the framework, it is going to resolve too many problems. Now in a framework, we can say there are a lot of features are there, whereas coming to library has limited features. If you ask me the difference between a laptop and mobile, few concepts are there. A laptop, there are many, but laptop purpose is different and mobile purpose is different. And calculator is there and mobile is there. So calculator, if you consider as a library, mobile is considered as framework. Even in a framework, that kind of library is also possible. What is the difference between Flutter and Angular? So those guys are completely new. See, Flutter is for hybrid application development. Angular is for a single page application, a SPA, single page architecture, to build a presentation part of mobile as well as web. Angular is being used. But to build a hybrid application, Flutter is being used. Those guys are different, completely different platforms. we can, in this assignment, first complete by using HTML, CSS. Then the same assignment can also be used in Bootstrap. Guys, you can also copy paste the code, but make sure that if you are copying the code from internet, how are we going to learn the things? Since I am expert, I don't want to, write everything from the scratch. If I'll keep writing everything from the scratch, we may not able to complete our assignment within 40 hours. That is where I have used, some sort of, techniques. But when you people are learning, please do not ever try to copy paste. Understand the concept? Keep using it. Sir, we have to use only third-party code to develop page using Bootstrap. We have to learn how to code. Yes, of course. Instead of even, see, since I copied a code because I wanted to complete it, as quickly as possible. I don't want to waste my time. So, but when you people are planning to learn, first learn each one of the concept, go to their official documentation, understand them first, then you will be keep using it. Hope you understand. Next, can we use Bootstrap? Yes, we can use it. Deadline for submission. You can take, because this is not going to be a complicated page. You please try to complete it before next class. I mean, to next class is on Wednesday, so you guys can complete it before Wednesday. But see, some people are asking Visual Studio or Sublime Text, which is best, sir? That is up to you. I would recommend, for each one of the code, for example, if you are building React based or Angular based, Visual Studio Code is best. If you are using just HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, Sublime Text is best. That is what my opinion. The opinion may vary from person to person. And the editors also, few editors are compatible for few programming, few other editors are compatible for backend, few editors are compatible for frontend. Visual Studio Code, you can use it, that's not a problem. Deadline for a task I already given. Sir, can you please send us the notes code? If you are planning to expect notes, please go to our video and each and every bit and pieces that we have discussed there. Okay. Some properties have been written in Notepad. So everything is recorded, my dear friends. Don't worry about it. Please go back to the recordings and you will get everything. So we have to use third party. Either you can use the code which you guys are copied from official website, or if you are master in Bootstrap, if you are aware of every component and every class in Bootstrap, then you need not to copy paste. But since you are in a beginning stage, what you can do, better to depend on a documentation of Bootstrap. May I know who is this Sri Vamsi? Complete the task in your local computer and evaluate yourself whether is it possible for you to achieve whatever the task that I gave, and that is also important for you to validate it. See, why colleges are conducting a test? To ensure that whatever the learning, however you have spent almost maybe a 2 to 3 months or 4 months for a semester, whether is it possible for you to complete it or not, you must have to validate it. Whether you are following the session or you are able to understand the concept. To validate it, you guys have to understand better. That is where we have to conduct the test. That's why this kind of simple assignments which we are providing to validate how effectively that you are following our sessions. The website which is developed by you now is now mobile friendly. No, still we have to write some sort of other concepts, then only it will be mobile friendly. So now I target it only for medium devices. Once my target is complete for one device, I should also write code for other devices as well. What is margin left? Margin, padding, that we already discussed in the beginning of a session when we discussed about CSS. Margin, the spacing is going to give between element. If I give margin left, the spacing is giving only left hand side of a margin. What is the difference between percentage and PT? These guys are different unit of measure. Percentage is a flexible unit, pixel is a fixed unit. If ExcelR has official Telegram page, please send us the link for a course update. Okay. Sir, in further sessions, can we link a Gmail or WhatsApp in our HTML page? Can you teach the topics also, sir? So if the client is having problems, so that they can send. Shortcut for indentation in Sublime. That is the editor specific. Check in the editor, you will get a shortcuts. Can we use Notepad to complete? Yes, you can even still use Notepad to complete the assignment. See, guys, understand the fundamentals, guys. If you are using Notepad, everything you have to write. If you are using editor is giving some flexibility, some color codes. It will be beneficial for you to go. That is what using Bootstrap is valid for companies, software companies. It is valid. That is why it is more popular nowadays. Is it legal to use Bootstrap in real-time websites? That is what I already said. Bootstrap is legal. It is open source. No worries. You can feel free to use it. Hey Himawat, can you please share the attendance links? They are keep asking attendance link.
Yeah, already shared, sir. Okay, I'll share again.
Because these people are joining only for attendance, few of them, I guess. That's okay for today's session. Try to meet us on Wednesday, guys. Thank you so much. Happy Ugadi for all of you. Take care. Good night.